Good morning. Welcome to business math class. We are fast approaching the fourth test, 4 out of 5 tests, and we're kind of in the middle here of chapter 6, which we're talking about simple interest. Anyone have any questions on the homework on 6.3? Okay, Marilyn, get us started. I'll get my book to the right page.
Oh.
Number 27.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, I read it wrong. I remember now. I put a star by it to ask you, but I couldn't understand how come the date was it from April 19th or from October 19th to April 19th, and it was.
Okay,
I read it wrong.
that one actually, like number 25, and we'll talk about these for just a minute because it is a real common mistake. On number 25, July 16th is the date the note is taken out, and it's a 120-day note. When you see a note that's in terms of days, you need to find what day of the year from your table of days July 16th is, and then you need to add 120, go back to the table of days and find what 120 days past July 16th is. But on number 27, the word there that stands out to me is month. It's a 6-month note. So I start out going October, so to November is 1, December, January, February, March, April. I just count on my fingers 6 months, right? You do not need to go to the table of days. One of the real common mistakes that happens in this area, and I've graded these tests too many times, is that people go, ooh, there's 30 days in a month, so they say it's a 180-day note, and then they go to the table of days and make it a whole lot harder because people tend to convert monthly notes to notes that are daily and using the table of days, and you don't need to do that. When it says months, just count ahead that many months, and you're saying you started out trying to do it by days?
Yeah, I guess because the one in 25 was.
Yes.
So I was in 27.
And we spend a lot of time working on daily things when we talk about exact and we talk about ordinary, and we get so used to going to, and that's a real common thing. When I look at time, a lot of times people will, when it's been 6 months, exactly that, they'll automatically convert that to 180 days. And you just, if it says months, it's just 6 over 12. Month should jump out and say 12, and that's your denominator. And that, Marilyn, is probably one of the most common things that happen wrong in this section.
I think that's what I did.
Yeah, made the most common mistake.
Said days, and I just.
And you get used to using the table of days. Yeah. Anyone else do that? You're just not admitting to it. Okay. The homework went okay then? You kind of left?
I think in the back it has the book is wrong.
She says, I don't know about number 13. What is someone else?
In the back of the book it said the answer was 95,403.
Yeah.
And it should be 5.
Okay, so people are saying,
It was simple math.
Yeah, I got that too.
okay, let me mark that one. People are saying that the principal should be what now? 9.
95,405.
33 if you need that.
Yeah, 0.33.
Okay, and you're saying in the back it says 403. Okay. And what I will do is put a message in on Steve's voicemail to make sure that for the next, you're helping us edit the book.
Right.
And the last time I called him, someone else had already called him. So, and I hope those things aren't frustrating you. That, and that's one of the nice things about getting together regularly. If there is something that's happening that you're not comfortable with, don't be at home at night for hours trying to figure it out. Come to class and say, is this one wrong, or did I do something wrong? Because sometimes, not very often, but sometimes there are answers wrong in the back of the book. Okay, so 13, everyone's got that it's a different answer than in the book. And the days. What do you think about the days, Holly?
I came up with like 28 days, and the back of the book said something like 36 days, I'm thinking. I don't know.
Okay, let's do your days. Well, let's talk about your formula. What's the formula for time, Holly?
Interest over principal times the rate.
Okay, let me get my paper organized and kind of out a bit. Okay, you're saying time in years is equal to I over principal times rate. And this is one of the things we were talking about before class. Josh was asking some questions. It's like, we really need to make sure that we know how much the interest is, how much the principal, how much the rate is. And so we're talking about problem number 13. How much was the interest? I equal?
7.13.
Oh, that's the rate. I'm talking about interest money, dollars.
Interest is 680 and 24.
680.24. Okay. Principal. What number did you use for principal?
I took the maturity value minus the interest, and I got the 95,405.
Okay. So I see that was a straightforward, because you could just subtract. And then we're going to multiply that times, and we want to do it times the interest rate. And what did you use as your decimal?
0.0713.
Cool. All right. So I like to take care of that denominator, store it. And then 680 divided by, 680.24 divided by whatever you got in your calculator. What's the decimal for the time in years? 0.01. We're going to let Holly see. What did somebody get? 0.1. Okay.
What'd you get?
Oh, that's not how I set mine up though.
That's really weird.
What'd you do?
I did time equals 680.24 over
Right. I'm sorry.
over
I'm dyslexic.
over 6802.2574.
I'm sorry. Talk to me again.
I got
Are you saying this is not, okay, do you have this
There
formula?
you go.
yeah,
Yes. What'd you use for interest?
680.24.
Okay. What'd you use for principal?
I got it like a big decimal, 6802.25.
But you got to know what you had for principal.
I don't know. I'd have to.
Okay, I'm with you. You're saying you I know what you're doing. You're
Yeah,
giving me what you got when you calculated
Yeah,
that denominator.
yeah.
All right, just give me a minute.
Sorry about that.
No, I'm fine.
I just didn't write that out there.
It's okay.
Cool.
So I've got 95405.33 times, does everyone agree, 0.0713? Okay. Okay, I'm going to, did you store that in your calculator? Oh, you,
I just wrote it down and just because I don't know how to store it in my calculator.
okay,
yet.
I'm going to work with you with your calculator in just a minute. But we need to store that, okay? And then we're going to take 680.24 divided by, recall second mem, equal, and I got 0.1.
That wasn't the same decimal I got though. It was
You
yours-
must not have, and that's the
But I
important
got
part.
36 days, like, for my answer. Let me figure it out.
Okay.
here.
You might think back about what you used. And I was going to say, I really like when you put down everything that you put into your calculator. This, and, huh?
0.1 is the same thing as 36 days.
Right. And so then we're going to take that
Oh yeah.
times
yeah.
360. But he's saying that's not the decimal that he got. Yeah, and I'm getting 36 days.
Yeah, no,
Holly-
that's what I got.
Holly,
yeah.
did you figure out?
I figured it out. I took I figured out that you were supposed to take the 0.1 times the 360. What I did was took the 95,000 times 0.0713 times 360, and that came out
Okay.
the wrong.
Had you divided by the 360, and that's what Marilyn pointed out that she likes to do, you would have gone there directly.
I don't quite get when you multiply and when you divide. I'm having a little, I guess if it just doesn't look right, then you know that you do the other one. I mean, you can see it's wrong when you
Okay.
do it.
When we're coming up with I equal PRT, right, the time here always needs to be time in terms of a year. Does that make sense? So if it is 72 days ordinary, then I've got to convert the time in terms of a year to 72 divided by, and I just made that number up, 360. So when it's in this formula, time always has to be, you're always going to divide because time has to be what part of a year is this time. And it's 72 days out of. You know, likewise, give me another number. I don't know, say it's 111 days. And if it was exact, when you're using it to plug it in for time in terms of a year, you are always going to be dividing by 12 if it's months, 360 if it's ordinary, 365 if it's exact. When we're doing the opposite, when we're coming up with the formula that says time in terms of a year is equal to I divided by principal times rate, then I'm getting time in terms of a year. We had 1/10 of a year. And I want to know how many days is 1/10 of a year. If I have 1/10 of, the word of always means multiply. So I want 1/10 of 360 or 365 if it's ordinary. So when you're putting it into the formula for interest, you're converting it to years by dividing. But when I'm coming up with time, I'm always going to get time in terms of a year, and then I need to multiply because that's what part of a year it is. I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah, I do think that's part of the tweaking that happens where the big picture's there and the little stuff has trouble kind of getting in place. And so Holly, oh, so you said you multiplied? What you down here multiplied? Mm-hmm. I just really like keeping this rate annual. And then when I get done, changing it to months or days or weeks by multiplying. And you're saying you just multiplied right here in the formula. Yeah. Okay. And that's the other thing. Don't assume the back's wrong and that you're right. Anytime that you think the answer in the back of the book is wrong, bring it to class so we can talk about it. Because sometimes, obviously, the answer in the back's wrong, and other times we're the one that's wrong. We just think we're doing it right. So we don't want to always assume it's wrong, because more often than not, the back of the book's going to be right. Okay, anything else? Great questions. And most of you have probably had some sort of loan or been familiar with some sort of a loan that this, you know, because you've bought, either you have student loans or you've bought cars or you've done something. So this was pretty familiar territory. Even if you didn't know all the bells and whistles, it was probably stuff that you'd kind of had some familiarity with. Next subject, which is 6.4, is a subject you might not have had any familiarity with that might sound a little foreign to begin with. The topic in 6.4 is discount interest. This is generally business to business or business to bank situations, and it could very possibly be that you've had no exposure to discount interest and that it might not seem the way you think things are. So hopefully what we did in 6.3 was familiar and you'll believe what we do in 6.4. Okay? Interest is not always added to the principal. You know, we did interest equal principal times rate times time, and then the maturity value was principal plus interest. Okay? That's true in simple interest. It is not true in discount interest. That's not the way we think things are. Sometimes interest is subtracted from the principal instead. Interest that is subtracted from principal is called discount interest. And once again, I'll repeat, that's very common, business to business or business to bank. A bank is a business, but between businesses and a bank, discount interest happens. You subtract the interest from the principal to obtain the proceeds. And Fran's going, This doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make much sense. Never heard of that. And that's exactly what I said. 6.3 should be the world the way you think it is. 6.4 is not exactly the way you think it is. We will come up with some pretty good examples of when this is used in real life situations as we go through these, and I think it'll make some meaning to things. Therefore, the proceeds and the principal are not the same. The face value of the note, the principal of the note, is not the proceeds. Okay? In fact, the principal and the maturity value are the same. We subtract the interest to get the proceeds, and the principal is actually the maturity value. Situations where discount interest are used commonly are treasury bills, treasury notes, treasury bonds, and we're going to do some examples, and your homework will have some treasury bills involved with it. Simple discount notes and the sale of notes, which has to do with business-to-business transactions, okay? We are once again in this section going to assume no partial payments are made. When we start adding payments, things get complicated. We're going to handle payments on a whole day all by itself later on in the chapter, okay? So again, this is, we borrow money, we either borrow it for so many years, so many days, so many months, and at the end we pay back the money. There's no partial payments. Is that okay? So I have got a 2-year loan, right? It's made for $5,000, 6% discount interest, and oftentimes in the book it's called simple discount interest. The key word there is discount, okay? We want to find the maturity value and the proceeds. So we begin like any other interest problem and we calculate the interest. I equal PRT. We want to know how much interest we would pay on $5,000. Interest rate of 0.06, and then we note that that's discount, and it's for 2 years. And so the time is already, in terms of a year, the time is 2. Put that in your calculator and calculate the interest. $600. Now, then we've got to remember this word. Discount. Discount interest says the interest is not added, the interest is subtracted. So what we need to do is come up with proceeds. The proceeds are not equal to the $5,000. We subtract the interest first. Proceeds, $4,400. Is that okay? Maturity value, $5,000. You're going, I don't buy this, right?
Wasn't the opposite on the last one?
It was the opposite, and that was called simple interest, and this is called discount interest, okay? Oftentimes in the book you'll see it called simple discount. Someone said there's nothing simple about simple discount, and it's not the way you think the world works, right? So when you see the word discount, think subtract, don't add, okay? So Fran, if you went to the bank for a $5,000 loan, 6% for 2 years, and they said, you know, discount note of 6%, 2 years, $5,000, when they cut a check to you, you would only receive $4,400.
I have the principal. I don't understand why they do it.
Well, you don't have the principal. Well, that's how much the note is for. That makes sense? That's how much the note is for. But you don't actually get the use of $5,000.
Right, you only get the $4,400.
That's exactly right. And when you pay it back, then you pay back $5,000. So you do not ever add the interest there to the principal, right? Are you with me? We only subtract the interest, then we pay back. Okay? Completely different situation. Isn't that confusing? That's how come we keep using the word proceeds instead of principal when we're talking about how much money the borrower or the payee receives, because in a simple interest note, they receive the amount of money the note is for. But in a discount note, they receive the principal with the interest already taken out of it, so they receive a smaller amount. So when we're saying what is the proceeds of the, what amount does the borrower receive, we're not always talking about the principal. Okay? And maturity value is not always the principal with the interest added to it. On a discount note, maturity value is principal, not principal with interest. Okay? Biggest mistake that people make, I always like to tell you because I've graded these papers so many times, is then they want me to tell you, then people tell me they pay back $5,600. Then you'd be paying double interest. Are you with me? That doesn't happen. We don't add the interest on these discount notes. Everyone there? So they work exactly the same as interest, simple interest in the first step, and then we subtract instead of add the interest. Here we go. Number 2, 180-day loan. Yeah?
How do you know if it's simple or exact?
Now here's the 2 words. Simple interest, discount interest.
No, I mean for the 180 days.
Oh, I forgot to write it in. I'm going to tell you that because I've got it written in red right above there. It's ordinary.
So it's always ordinary unless it says exact.
I'm going to try to always put it in, but our old book assumed ordinary if it wasn't there, and that's how come it's not there, but I will. Just ask me. But yeah, the old book assumed ordinary and did not always tell us, and that's how come that little thing is missing there. But no, I've got written in red right above here, it's 11% ordinary discount interest. So we've got to know whether the interest is simple or discount, and then if it's daily, we've got to know if it's ordinary or exact. Lots of vocab. So we've got a 180-day loan, $2,500, made it 11% ordinary discount interest. How much is actually received by the borrower? That means what is the proceeds of the note. And how much must be paid back? That would be the maturity value. So, okay. Here we go. Principal, how much did we borrow? $2,500. Rate is 11%. It's daily. It's 180 days, and it's ordinary. This is when we, Christine, is this one we're going to multiply in or divide in?
Oh, I don't know, I'm already done. I multiplied it. I divided the 180 by 360,
That's exactly right.
multiplied it straight
No, I meant, are we
across it.
multiplying by 100 and, by 360, or are we dividing?
We divided.
We divided, right. Okay, so how much interest is there going to be on this?
137.50.
I agree. So it starts out looking like simple interest only. Da-da-da-da-da, it was discount interest, often in the book called simple discount, which is even more confusing because they put the word simple in front of it. But simple discount or just discount interest, okay. Which puts us off on a whole new thinking, right? It's the opposite of what we did in 6.3. We're in 6.4. Cassandra, how much is the borrower going to receive from the lending institution?
$2,362.50.
Absolutely. And how did you get that?
I subtracted $137.50 from the
That's right.
$2,500.
When I see the word discount, I think subtract the interest. Good. Proceeds, which is the correct word there. 2,362.50. Maturity value. How much is the payee going to pay to the lender, or the payor going to pay to the payee? Huh?
$2,500.
That's right. Maturity value is equal to the face value of the note. Okay? This is kind of a real way these happen for Fran. Treasury bill. That's exactly right. Let's talk this one over. And this is the real world, okay? It says a 26-week, and there are Treasury bills that are weekly, okay? $50,000 Treasury bill sold at 3.24% discount. What was the sale price? So there's been a Treasury bill auction. Somebody offered, and that's exactly what happens on certain Tuesdays in the month, 3.24 for a $50,000 Treasury. So the question is, how much are you going to really pay for the Treasury note? So we're going to calculate the interest. Rate was 0.0324, and the time is 26 divided by 52. Those notes really will be sold on a weekly basis. How much interest? $810. You're buying this note. It's for $50,000, but you do not pay $50,000 for it. Somebody back there that knows. How much did you get, Keith?
1,190.
Good. Proceeds to the person that's selling the note, to the government, really, would be $50,000 minus the $810. What'd you tell me, Keith? Good. That's how much you would actually pay for the Treasury bill. You hold on to that Treasury bill for 26 weeks. At the end of 26 weeks, you go to a bank that can redeem Treasury bills and you say, give me my money. How much money are they going to give you? What's the maturity value of that note? $50,000. Great. And Fran, does that make sense? I think of savings bonds. Has anyone ever gotten a savings bond? I'm old enough that when I was little, people used to give you savings bonds for significant things, right? You would get a $25 savings bond, but the person didn't pay $25 for it. At one point, I know they paid $18.75. There were different things. You'd hold on to it, and you kept it to the end. It was worth the face value of the note. So now does it make sense? Can anyone think of another situation like that? I think of savings bonds as being maybe things that you've had. There are zero coupon municipal bonds that don't pay interest. You actually buy them at a discount, and then at the end you receive more money. So in essence, you've received interest, but you bought it at a discount, so then you just get the value of the bond at the end. Works the same way, municipal bonds that do that. So is that one all right? Okay, let's see what's at the top of the next page. So now we're going to talk about notes specifically. This same set of vocab was set up when we did simple interest notes, and I just put it in here so that we kind of can compare the two. The proceeds are the face value or the principal minus the interest, and the maturity value is actually the face value or the principal. So this same information was done for a simple interest note. I have $7,500, 90 days. It was 12% ordinary, so I calculate the interest. It's $7,500 times 0.12 times 90 divided by 360. Interest is $225. Since this is a discount note, we subtract the interest. Proceeds for this note are actually $7,275, and the maturity value is the $7,500. So now we're going to be dealing with notes. This is exactly the same type of thing we were doing just a second ago. Okay? We're going to find the date due, interest, proceeds, and maturity value for the following discount interest note. You notice I bolded discount so that you will see it. A 6-month note was made on December 17th. 6-month note. So what are we going to do? We're going to count on our fingers 6 months ahead, right? Because it's a monthly note. It was made on December 17th, 12%, with a face value of $4,500. Just go ahead and take a minute and work. Tell me when it's due, what the interest is, what the proceeds, the amount of the proceeds, and the maturity value. Is it working or you have questions? Who knows when the note is due?
April 17th. Oh, that's the second one. Sorry.
She's on the wrong problem. She's working ahead. That's okay. That's right next time. I'll ask you that one. Okay, here we go. The date it's due is June 17th. We set up and calculated I equal PRT, 4,500 times 0.12 times 6 divided by 12. Interest is $270. Right? Then I've got proceeds are 4,500 minus the $270, $4,230 maturity value, $4,500. Is that all right? Okay. Go ahead and start working on the next problem. We'll work on it for just a minute. Christine already knows when it's due, as do probably lots of the other ones of you. Since this is a daily note, you're going to need to go to your table of days to come up with the day it's due. I've written right up here that January the 17th is day 17 of the year. We know that it's a 90-day note, so it's going to be due on day 107. So we need to figure out when that is. And oftentimes these do end up being exactly on the same day of the month 3 months later, depending on what months we're dealing with. So sometimes it works that it's the same and sometimes it's different. Christine.
On B, it says ordinary simple. Is that for us to figure the day, or is that for us to figure the interest?
Ask me your question one more time.
On B, it says ordinary simple. Is
No,
that
it's supposed to be
figure the
discount.
day, or is that
Supposed to be
figure the
discount.
interest?
Ordinary, it's supposed to be discount.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. I'm sorry. It's ordinary discount. I'm going to repeat this one more time. The book will continue to say ordinary simple discount. And we will look at the homework in just a minute. I'm using the word discount, but oftentimes in the book it will call it simple discount. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah. But this is a typo. This was supposed to say discount. So, when is it due?
April 17th.
Good. Which is day 107, right? We did 90 divided by 360 for our time. Interest is $100. Proceeds are $4,900. Maturity value is $5,000. We're going to wait and do the rest of this unit on Monday when we get back together. I'm going to look at the homework for just a minute with you here, because then we're going to get into some sort of role playing where some of you are going to be borrowers and some of you are going to be lenders and some of you are going to be bankers for me. I know, that's what I'm looking at. Through 29. Through 29. And then what we're going to do is talk about people borrowing money from someone else and then people taking the promissory note to the bank, discounting it, selling it at a discount. We're going to have extra things involved here. Okay? So you should be able to do number 29 with no problem. Okay, what was your question, Marilyn? They have too much fun on the back.
Well, who was that saying that never a borrower nor a lender be?
Oh.
I thought it was Shakespeare, and she was laughing at me because I thought it was out of one of his.
Does anyone know that one?
What was it again?
Either
It's a
borrower
quotation.
nor
You know, I mean, it's old. It's
Uh-huh.
really old. It's
think it's
never
Ben
a
Franklin.
borrower nor a lender.
She thinks
be.
it's Ben Franklin. So
Oh, maybe it was Ben.
somebody get on the internet with that one and find it. I bet you could. Well, and I think of Fran's look on her face like the world doesn't work like this, and it is odd. But I always think they say figures don't lie, but liars figure. Sometimes and I don't mean that rudely, but sometimes words are used and you think it means one thing, but it doesn't mean that. It means something else. I mean, if someone was offering you this simple discount note, you wouldn't have known what it meant, and you'd have said simple interest, and they'd said yes. And so then we're involved in this thing, and it's the vocab. You know, we're actually calling. So part of what being an educated person is you know, and particularly in a field like this, is knowing what all the vocabulary means. And I'll address one more issue. Fran, if you had that it was a $5,000 note at 6% interest, okay? And you only had $4,400 to work with. Did you really pay 6% interest? You had the use of not $5,000. No. So it's not really a true interest rate. And that's heading into something we're going to do in 6.5 is say, wait just a minute. If I only had $4,400 and it was 6% interest, but it was discount, I really paid, I didn't have the use of $5,000. And we're going to discover that 6% is not a true rate. And we're going to, No, do you think you paid a higher interest rate or a lower interest rate? You paid a higher interest rate. That's exactly right. And so we'll talk about that next week too. We're going to do some conversions of these interest rates because it's not a true rate. So, okay, is there anything else in the homework through 29? Okay, then we will get back together, finish 6.4. Wait a minute till they turn off the tape.